I would like to introduce myself. I am Maria Perifanou and I'm from Greece. I'm an adjunct lecturer at the Hellenic Open University and I teach topics related to COL at the TESOL Master Program. I'm also an Italian language teacher and technology enhanced learning expert, project manager and a senior researcher at the SMILE and Mobile Interactive Lab of the University of Macedonia in Thessaloniki that is located in the northern part of Greece. Finally, I'm also adjunct lecturer at the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki, the Department of Italian Language Studies. Today, in my talk, I will present the OER Competences Framework and Self-Assessment Questionnaire for Digi-Teachers. More specifically, I will discuss first about the need for open online educational material, what is an open educational resource, about the need of teachers' competencies for OER. Then I will continue with the presentation of the research methodology and OER competencies framework for Digi-Teacher and self-assessment tool. And finally, I will close my talk with the final conclusions and the future research. There is no doubt that the COVID-19 has dramatically disrupted all education system. According to UNESCO, during the first half of 2020, around 90% of the world's enrolled learners were obliged to continue their education remotely. This sudden shift away from the classroom didn't find all teachers prepared to cope efficiently with the new online teaching challenges, such as the ability to create or find and adapt online teaching material. In fact, there was a huge need for open online educational material because online educational material is not available by many commercial publishers and the cost for educational material is quite high in most cases. But what is an open educational resource? According to the definition of Hewlett Foundation, OERs are educational materials of any type, medium, that reside in the public domain or have been released under an open license that permits their free use and repurposing by others. What teachers can do with open educational resources? Teachers can bring life to OERs by using them and adapting them in a creative way. In fact, OER adheres to the 5 R's as explained by David Willey. Teachers can retain OER so they have the right to make, own and control copies of the content, like download, duplicate, store and manage. They can reuse, they have the right to use the content in a wide range of ways, like in a class, in a study group, on a website. They can revise OERs, so they have the right to adapt, adjust, modify or alter the content itself. They can remix, they have the right to combine the original or revised content with other material to create something new. And finally, they can redistribute OERs, so they have the right to share copies of the original content with revisions of and remixes with others. During the last 50 years, there are numerous definitions regarding the term competence, as it is a term that has been discussed and investigated in many domains from different perspectives. In fact, there is such confusion and debate about the concept of competence that it is impossible to identify one definition. White brought up the term competence for the first time as a concept for performance motivation in 1959, while later, in 1979, Hayes described competences as a blend of knowledge, motivation, social characteristics and roles or skills of one person in accordance with the demands of organization of their clerks. More recently, European Commission has defined competencies as a combination of knowledge, skills and attitudes appropriate to the context, where knowledge is composed of the facts and figures, concepts, ideas and theories which are already established and support the understanding of a certain area or subject. Skills are defined as the ability and capacity to carry out processes and use existing knowledge to achieve results. Attitudes describe the disposition and mindsets to act or react to idea, persons, or situation. This last definition has inspired the design and development of the Digi-Teacher OER Competence framework. Before the design of the OER Competence framework for the Digi-Teacher, a literature review study was carried out in order to explore and map any previous research related to competence frameworks on OERs. Results have shown that there is no previous research that specifically focuses on the creation of any OER-specific competence framework for teachers. Instead, the study has found that there is an extensive literature on teachers' digital competencies, digital literacy framework, and digital assessment tools. But how is defined digital competence? According to Ferrari, digital competence is the set of knowledge, skills, attitudes that are required when using ICT and digital media to perform tasks, solve problems, communicate, manage information, collaborate, create and share content, and build knowledge effectively, efficiently, appropriately, critically, creatively, autonomously, flexibly, ethically, reflectively for work, leisure, participation, learning, socializing, consuming, and empowerment. The ability to use, create, and share properly OERs is described as one of the basic digital skills in most of the digital frameworks and assessment tools. There are several frameworks that discuss the ability to use, create, and share OERs. For example, the well-known Digital Competence Framework for Educators classifies the main components of the digital competence in 22 various competencies and in 6 basic areas: professional engagement, digital resources, teaching a learner, assessment, empowering learners, and finally facilitating learners' digital competencies. In addition to the previous competencies, teachers should be able to exploit and apply OER in their teaching practices. More concretely, we have defined specific areas of OER competencies that could be included in an OER-specific competence framework for teachers based on the exploitation and analysis of more than 20 digital competence frameworks and digital assessment tools for teachers. The methodology adapted in order to define the OER competence framework for digital teachers was based on the action design research method, and as you see here in the figure, which according to literature, it is a well-suited methodological basis for the development, implementation, and evaluation of frameworks, but also for organizing the research process and project of several disciplines. The action design research method enables the creation of innovative artifacts to solve a problem in the organizational context. It follows a design pattern that includes 4 distinct design cycles: diagnosis, design, implementation, and evolution. Each ADR cycle moves through activities of problem formulation, artifact creation, evaluation, reflection, and learning. In the first phase, the diagnosis, as far as the first research phase is concerned, we define the research question as described previously. Is there any OER competence framework for teachers? After a systematic literature review, which was also described in the previous section, the results have shown that there is not any OER competence framework addressing the OER needs of teachers and students. This is a problem that needs to be resolved. In the second phase that has to do with the design, the main objective was to design the Digi-Teacher OER competence framework. In order to define the components of this framework, first we analyzed the 20 digital competence frameworks that were selected during the systematic literature review, as we saw before. This analysis was done based on specific criteria that were exploring the different skills needed by teachers in order to use, create, manage, and share OER. All identified OER knowledge and skills were grouped in 6 different OER competency categories based on their content. The first one was the OER technical competence, the second OER quality competence, the third OER licensing competence, the fourth OER teaching, and fifth OER assessing, and sixth OER community. Based on these competence categories, it was designed the Digi-Teacher competence framework, which analytically presents all the OER knowledge and skills that the teacher should possess, and include as well 3 levels of OER competencies: novice, proficient, and expert. The third phase, it is the implementation, and the main aim of this phase was to evaluate the proposed framework. This was done through the organization of 2 mini online focus groups. Focus groups constitute a research method that researchers use in order to collect qualitative data through interactive and directed discussions. We adapted a specific guideline on how to conduct focus group online. That included criteria such as a relaxing atmosphere created by the moderator, homogeneity of the group video recording, support by the note taker, use of a list of questions with evaluation criteria, as well as specific discussion topics. The duration of each mini group did not exceed 60 minutes. The author acted as a moderator, and an external collaborator acted as the observer and note taker. Its focus group consisted of 6 participants. In the first one participated in service teachers and researchers, while in the second one, future teachers. Initially, the focus group participants were introduced to the concept of OER and the purpose of the focus group discussion. During the first part of the discussion, a short list of the questions triggered discussions among the participants, like what skills do you need in order to manage and use OER. In the second part, all participants were invited to evaluate the first draft of the framework based on specific evaluation criteria that tested its clarity, accuracy, precision, consistency, feasibility, and its logical and practicality following the Likert scale. And the fourth and last phase, phase of evolution, it was developed a self-assessment tool which any teacher can use in order to control his/her competencies using the Likert scale. Both the literature review and the focus group findings inspired the design of the OER framework, as well as the self-assessment OER questionnaire for the Digi-Teachers, which are presented and analyzed now in the following slides. The profile of an OER competent Digi-Teacher should encompass various competencies which refer to specific knowledge and skills. These are grouped in 6 main categories, as you see here. First one, OER technical competence. Second, OER quality competence. Third, OER licensing competence. 4, OER teaching. 5, OER assessing, and last, OER community. The activities that are presented in, as you will see in the framework that you will see now, in the green column describe all the OER activities that a Digi-Teacher should be able to do, while the blue column provides information about the context in which the OER activities take place or define the OER type. The framework also proposes 3 proficiency levels, as not all OER activities require the same degree of expertise. Here you can see the framework. So here you can see also the colors that I referred to before. Here we can see the different levels, and I will talk a little bit about that. The OER novice, or we are in the first level, Digi-Teacher, possesses basic OER competencies, and it is quite good OER user, evaluator, and creator. More concretely, the OER novice can search for OER and discover a specific OER using search engines and basic metadata in OER repositories, can make a simple OER quality control, can integrate OER in his/her teaching practice, as well as in the assessment of his/her students. The OER novice has a basic knowledge of open licenses and create a simple teaching OER. I am continuing with the OER proficiency, so the second level. The Digi-Teacher possesses advanced OER competencies and is a very good OER user, evaluator, and creator. More concretely, the OER proficient can do all the above OER activities in a more efficient way and additionally can evaluate OER using advanced evaluation criteria, can retain OERs, can reuse an OER, for example, can revise an OER, can remix, and can create any type of OER using a variety of digital tools and can share OER copies with extra revisions or remixes, can use all open licenses efficiently, and can motivate or help students to use, create, and share OER. Finally, the OER expert, the Digi-Teacher, possesses highly advanced OER competencies and is an excellent OER user, evaluator, and creator, but is also an OER trainer and pioneer that can continually try to evolve through professional development and research. More concretely, the OER expert can do all the above OER activities in an exceptional way and additionally can offer OER training to other teachers. Can also apply innovative ways of using and creating OER in teaching and student assessment, and can share and show innovative ways of how to use and create OER for teaching and assessment in a wider teaching community. Um, Last here we can see you can see the self-assessment tool for the Digi-Teacher, as it was aforementioned during the fourth and last step of the ADR method. It was developed an OER competency self-assessment tool for the Digi-Teachers, which any teacher can use in order to evaluate and reflect on her OER competencies. As you see here, the questionnaire is using the Likert scale, and teachers can mark how confident they feel to do the following OER activities, um, and can choose between the different levels from one, not at all confident, until or very up to five, very confident. The questionnaire comprises 6 different categories, as we saw, based on the framework. And here you can see just a screenshot of the of this, let's say, a self assessment tool, and this is interconnected, as we said before, with the framework, and it can also serve as an OER competence guide for teachers that could be used in OER teachers training courses. So teachers may feel competent to do or not to do different, let's say, tasks, and with this self-assessment tool, it is possible to self-assess themselves. Finally, um, let me conclude here. The future research aims is to continue testing the OER competence self-assessment tool for the Digi-Teachers in future training session on OER with teachers of different subjects and from different levels of education. The main idea is to improve the tool, but also to invite more teachers to join the wonderful OER movement that can transform teachers' way of teaching and training forever. Thank you very much for your time and for your attention.